Hello and welcome to the CDO Magazine interview series. I'm Maria Espona with ArgIQ, and we are partnering with CDO Magazine, MIT CDO, and the International Society of Chief Data Officers for a series of interviews. Today, we have the pleasure of talking with Dr. Rayid Ghani from the Carnegie Mellon Institute. Welcome, Professor.
Thank you. Thanks.
Could you tell us a little bit about you and what do you do at the university?
So I'm a professor at Carnegie Mellon in the Science College of Public Policy and also in the machine learning department in our School of Computer Science. And I'm on, a lot of my focus is working with governments and nonprofits and helping them develop machine learning, data-driven AI systems to tackle health issues, health problems, criminal justice, education, environmental, human services, transportation. And so a lot of our work is centered around that, and then using those those collaborations, we'll focus on research in the areas of how do we design fair and equitable systems to tackle these problems, interpretable systems, as well as design training programs for students, both in a classroom setting as well as summer programs that are experiential training programs that train students in how to tackle these social issues through the use of data-driven methods.
Interesting. So we have a series of questions for you. And the first one is, you are professor at Carnegie Mellon University, and there you have courses on machine learning, artificial intelligence, and data science. I would like to know how you prepare the concept for the different courses in order to prepare the students to work in solving social problems.
There are lots of different indirect steps, right? But I think the key for us has been to provide students with actual experience working on real projects, because we think the only way you can teach students how to do these things is by having them do those projects. So we have a lot of collaborations and partnerships with government agencies, with nonprofits, which is where we get the problems and the data. And then we work with students to teach them how to solve those problems as they are trying to do it. And that's sort of the typical process for different programs. And I think one thing that's important is you can't really teach people how to do something if you don't do it yourself. So we also make sure that we've got a team, so I have a team of data scientists, researchers, data analysts, software engineers that are working on these projects throughout the year. So then we have sort of the ability to both work on these problems, but also use them for teaching purposes.
That's fantastic. Yeah, I saw your projects and they are great. And your project on Los Angeles and Johnson County are really fantastic. And how did you design them, yourself or with your colleagues? And is there any follow-up of the results?
Yeah, so the projects, we don't come up with the problems, and unfortunately, I guess, or fortunately, or mostly unfortunately, the problems exist, right? So in this case, in the examples you're talking about, the people, the city attorney's office in Los Angeles, they came to us and said, look, we have in our city, we've got a high rate of people who keep coming back into the criminal justice system. And both of these, actually, both Los Angeles and Johnson County kind of came to us with similar problems, different types of organizations. One was city attorney, another one was the criminal justice for the county. And the challenge was they were reactive. They would come, they would do things when something has already happened. When somebody's already in the system multiple times, it's too late to fix it. And so they wanted our help in seeing what can we do that's proactive, that's preventative, and to provide people with resources that they need before it's too late. And so both of these projects were about how do we be proactive about providing support to people who need it in order to avoid bad outcomes. And then equally importantly, and more importantly, is how do we do it in a way that's equitable, as opposed to just focusing on being efficient in those problems.
When your students were part of this project, as you mentioned before.
Exactly. So both, in both of these projects, students are part of them as well as the full-time team, because again, these projects cannot be done by just students. Students are a component of it, but they require a lot more dedicated, longer term. So in Johnson County project, for example, the projects have been going on now for 5 years. And different parts of it, students come in, do some part of it, we go out and then test those things, they come back, but we have to have continuity in each of those projects to make sure that we can give something back to these organizations, we can help them run trials, we can help them implement, deploy, we can help train their staff so that they're able to manage and run the system themselves, or even hire the staff, help them hire and train them. And so in both of those cases, we've trained people in Los Angeles, in Johnson County, to be able to do more of this type of work, to maintain the systems we're developing. So students are a part of it and an important part of it, but not enough by themselves.
You include the sustainability concept with what you are doing, because you train the people, you hire the right ones, so the project can continue after the activity can continue after the project finished.
Exactly.
That's fantastic. Good. I have another question that it's I read something about it that is there is a debate on it, and it's how the education on ethics in the fields of your interest is going, because there is something, but it's not that clear. Do you have something at your university?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's been an area where sort of the fields of kind of machine learning and AI and sort of data science in general, they don't have enough training of kind of professional ethics embedded in the curriculum as they should. A lot of programs don't have any, and I think that's changing. People are fortunately getting a little bit more aware of, we're using these tools to help make really important decisions about people's lives, about communities, about society, and our students, but because our students, but most importantly, the practitioners in the space need to have a good understanding and experience and training in how to deal with ethical issues. How do we figure out whose values are we designing into the system? How do we get to consensus around those values? How do we communicate about those? How do we develop the system so it does what we wanted it to do? That's not traditionally been part of the curriculum. And I think, over the last few years, a lot of universities have realized that and have started creating those courses. The way we take this approach is, yes, we have some courses. I don't think the solution is courses in ethics. I think the solution is embedding, which is not a novel idea. Many disciplines have done that. But for us, it's been embedding ethical discussions, conversations, and content throughout in pretty much all of the entire curriculum. So if we're learning about how do we scope or formulate a problem, well, thinking about that in early stage about what are the ethical issues there, what are the issues around privacy, around equity, around transparency, around accountability, around inclusiveness. If we're talking about which data sources we're using, what data are we collecting, having the same conversations about that. If we're talking about which models are we building, what evaluation metrics are we using, who's being affected by, in the community, how do we include their perspective, how do we engage them and create the solution with them rather than just for them. What we've done is we've kind of embedded those discussions throughout the curriculum. So you don't talk about ethics in the beginning and then forget about it, or at the end when you can't change anything, but in each step. So one of the programs that I run, which is sort of an experiential training program called Data Science for Social Good Fellowship, which is actually running right now as well at CMU. We have lectures, but we also have every Friday afternoon, we've got a session where we split up into small groups, and we basically talk about, in the data science project right now in this phase and during this week, what are the different decisions we're making, what are the different choices we're making about, some of them about formulation, some of them about data, some of them about modeling, some of them about community participation. and what are ethical issues that are coming up, and what are the possible downstream impacts 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, 6 months later of those choices, and what can we do now that can reduce the risk of those things that we might anticipate. So we're trying to do it at the time when we're making those decisions, so it's actionable rather than just conversations and just words, that won't change anything for anyone. So it's very much about how do we operationalize ethics and how do we embed it into the curriculum. That's the approach that we've been taking.
I think the approach that you're taking is fantastic, because it's like also the professors are showing their ethical behavior through the different lectures they are providing, and the concept of ethics is embedded. It's not just the course that you check the box and said, okay, done, and forget, as you said. It's something that helps to build the professional for the future in all the aspects. That's super. And a model to copy.
We'll see. We don't, it's I think right now is a time when we need people to kind of explore different ways of doing it. I think other professions, medicine, for example, right, is much more mature in like bioethics is a field. Data and AI and machine learning ethics, it's not there yet. We're not matured enough to sort of figure out what works, what doesn't work, how do we embed it well. I think right now is a time where a lot of us are trying different approaches based on our experiences, but we haven't consolidated and gone to a standard that needs to be. That's what we need to get to, is some standards around, here are the things every student who finishes a program that's using data for anything that affects human beings should have this training and this experience, having the conversations, building and understanding the issues, and then developing systems that try to achieve those values. And I don't think we're there yet. I think we're at the beginning of that. So hopefully, with collaboration with other disciplines who are much further ahead, we can do that better.
I think that it's a direct connection when you talk about ethics and medical science or biological science. You can see the impact, the direct impact. You don't see either with the data scientist or with another kind of experts. You don't see the direct link with ethical behavior or the impact that could cause the damage. But I think it's good that you are exploring, that the field is exploring this direction and how to do it better. I'm implementing some projects in Central Asia, and we are doing these responsible science modules. And it depends on which university, which career, it's how they are taking it, if it's a separate module or a lecture. But I think that I agree with you that embedding the concept in all the courses that the students are taking, or at least in many, it will help to shape the professional for the future. It depends on the field, of course.
Right, exactly, and exactly, and I think some fields have done a better job of embedding that, and I think again a lot of this data science is we just haven't, we're not as mature as a field. We don't have, even to think of it as a data science, we don't really have a good idea of what does it mean to do data science? What are the different roles, like data engineers and data researchers or data analysts, or so I think it's a sign of a field that's not mature yet, but we kind of need to get there, because again, I think for me the critical part is the students we're training are then working on systems that affect important aspects of people's lives, and so saying we're new is not an excuse.
No.
It doesn't matter if we're a young field, we're still affecting people's lives, so we need to be sure that our practitioners have the training, and that as a profession we have the standard in place, the review policies in place, and the ways to people to make sure that they know how to do this.
So thank you so much, Rayid, for this interview. I really enjoyed. I learned even a lot. So thank you very much.
Yeah, this was great. Thanks for the conversation.
Thank you.